Whether it's the holidays, a birthday celebration, or just an ordinary night, many consider pie the quintessential comfort dessert. And for the family-owned Hawaiian Pie Company, baking is a skill that has been passed down for generations.
I would honestly say that what makes a good pie is the crust, right? Like it all starts from there. That's like the foundation of any good pie. It's like if you have a good crust, you're in a good spot. My name is Andrew Chanhori. I am the operations manager at the Hawaiian Pie Company. Fourth generation, I guess, lead baker at the company as well.
I'm Joel Hori, and I'm one of the co-founders of the Hawaiian Pie Company along with my wife, Jan. My grandfather's name was Yoshio Hori. He's the founder of Holy's Bakery in Kapa'au. The military in the area needed bread, and there was no bake shops or anything around. I couldn't believe how big it is, because you see these pictures right here? There's a lot of machinery and equipment, and it's industrial. And this is back in the 40s, you know, and I don't know how my grandfather did that, but he did. So my grandfather ordered the packaging on a telephone. He's speaking to an American guy, and he said his last name was Hori, and he wanted Horis on top there. So the guy assumed Japanese guys rolled the R, so he made it Holy, and when everything came in, you know, rather than trying to pack it all up and send it back, he said, well, let's just go with this. After all of the bread thing started dying down, he sold off a lot of the equipment, and then just became a regular bakery for the town of Kohala. And then he developed this formula for the frozen apple pie. But at that time, we had already moved. We were living in Michigan. I was in the 5th grade, I think. And then he called my dad, told my dad, you know, it's getting kind of busy. And my grandpa was getting older, so he said if he could come back and help. So we did. I grew up in that bakery, working in that bakery. My dad, one day when I was 19, I mean, I was going UH Hilo, but, you know, I saw how hard he was working. He told me, hey, thinking about moving to Honolulu. You want to come with me? I loved diving, I loved hunting, fishing. It's all that I was gonna give up. But then I thought, I'd regret it, you know, if I didn't go and help him. So I came down with him, and we had Holy's Bakery Manoa. It's rough, you know. You need funding and stuff, you know, for equipment and stuff. So it is hard to kind of continue.
I didn't really know too much about it growing up, because a lot of the things that the baking side of my family, they were all on the Big Island with Holy's Bakery. I don't even think Holy's Bakery Manoa was still around by the time I showed up. So for me, that was kind of like a lost history that I ended up discovering when we decided to open up again.
During Christmas times, everybody at the facility would make, you know, gift baskets, presents for everybody. So I decided, let's go make pie. So that's what we started to do at our house. We'd be making these passion pear pies. So right after Thanksgiving, you know, all my friends from work. So Joel, when are we coming to the house to pick up the pies? You know, that's all they cared about was coming to pick up the pies at the house. So we figured out they must be enjoying the pies. So we kind of knew we had something there. And then after I retired, she made the suggestion, hey, why don't we open one shop? So I kind of was hesitant, because I knew how much work it was going to be. But I slept one night, and my gramps, he kind of came to me. So I was like, I guess this is what we gotta do, you know, because I don't see him a lot, you know. So the Hawaiian Pie Company opened in 2014 in December.
Honestly, I had no thought of baking or being a baker.
For us, it wasn't a matter of trying to convince him. It's the relationship he had with his grandpa. Kind of brought him into the fold. My dad pretty much hand taught him everything. I mean, I'm like an elementary school baker, and my son's like a graduate in college already because my dad taught him a lot, and he absorbed it.
Seeing my grandpa in the bakery was like, that's seeing him in his element kind of thing. And I was, it was like seeing a completely different person from who I grew up with and things like that. And that was like, it was awesome, especially because some of the things that he did just seemed like second nature to him, even though whenever I would try to follow along and things like that, like, didn't always turn out the same way. A lot of the original recipes that we started out with when we first opened up were from Holy's Bakery, from my great-grandfather and my grandpa and all them. And I don't know if this was just from all the years that he was baking and things like that, but he would always write everything down. Sometimes he would write it down multiple times. And then sometimes I would check all of the times that he wrote down the same recipe, and I would notice that they're never the same. So that was like the ongoing joke that I had with like my dad and my uncle, like down the line. It was just like, wait, so which recipe are we using? Like, because they're all kind of similar, but they're all kind of different.
All the recipes for the pies that you see the Manoa Valley signature on top, that's pretty much stuff that my dad created. And then after that, the passion pear and the caramel apple were also created in our house.
Our best-selling pie, I would have to say it would be the Hawaiian passion pear. For me, that was the one that kind of blew me away. That was one of the recipes that my mom and my dad came up with. That was the one that kind of like opened my eyes to like, wow, that you can really get some crazy flavors going on inside of a pie. So that one always has like a special place in my heart as like my favorite. There's a lot that are creeping up there, but like it's never gonna dethrone it yet. Not yet, at least. Maybe I can make something, but we'll see.
There's so much trial and error, per pie that you make that it can be a little bit tiresome to try to come up, with a new flavor. My son, he's been amazing at finding and manipulating different flavors.
Pretty much my entire immediate family has some role in this whole business. Even though my two siblings, they have their own jobs and things like that, they find time to help out wherever they can.
To do an endeavor like this, it has to have love inside. I mean, my wife, my daughter, my oldest boy, my son-in-law, everybody's in there. We're not forcing anybody here.
Initially, I didn't know what I was going to get out of it. I thought maybe, just going over there, physical labor, help out the family, things like that. And as I started to work with my family and things like that, I started to, develop that connection with them, with what we were doing, and I started to kind of have a different outlook on things. I looked at a lot of the things that we were doing, and I would realize this is stuff that, shoot, my great-grandfather kind of started up, and here I am today, 50, 60 years down the road, and I'm kind of, following in those footsteps, and I'm being led down that path by, my grandpa and my dad and my uncle, and these are all the things that were made possible by, my mom and my dad making this space, not necessarily for me, just making this space available.
We're having fun, while we're here. Everybody that comes in here becomes family. Most of the workers here is like my good brothers that I knew growing up, and they're retired. They got nothing to do, so hey, I'll come hang out with you, okay? I said, sure, come on over. So we got retirees in here, and then we got young kids from high school coming in, and so they got a bunch of uncles in the back helping them out. So this really is a labor of love, this shop.
Mahalo for joining us. PBS Hawaii continues the tradition of storytelling because of your generosity. If you'd like to support our mission, please visit pbshawaii.org and click on the donate button. For Home is Here, I'm Kala'i Miller. Ahui ho.